thank you, first of all, so much, because I know you're busy, and I just want you to know that we're very grateful, first of all, for you talking with us. But how are you doing today? You feeling okay?
Yeah, I feel good.
You do?
Yeah.
You're busy, Toby.
Yeah.
You don't stop, do you?
Well, I did for 2 years.
Well, yeah, and it's been a journey, hasn't it?
It is. It's a lot of dark hallways.
Yeah. Are you doing okay?
I am.
How do you maneuver through those dark hallways?
Faith. Yeah, you have to have your faith. It's thank God that I got it too, but it's in my DNA. I don't ever remember waking up one day and going, "Oh, that's how all this got here." It's like as far back as I can remember, I was born with faith, but it's always carried me through the darkest parts. But He's always there. The Almighty's up being Almighty. He's been riding shotgun. And a lot of people aren't as blessed as I am. This ailment is devastating, and you can sometimes you go and find out you have it. Usually by the time you find out you have it, by the time symptoms show up, it's usually too late, or a lot of times too late. I know a lot of people. So it's been 2 years in October since I was diagnosed. So it's a little over 2 years, and you just you take it a day at a time. It's a roller coaster, and you really have to captain your own ship. You got to get as much information as you can, and we could go on for hours about it. But you really have to captain your own ship, and you have to lean on your faith.
When you talk about leaning on your faith, has your faith deepened? Can you tell me how?
I don't know if it's deepened. I understand it more.
How so?
I haven't had to lean on it my whole life as much. There's been obviously times that I've had to lean on it more than not, but it's like we take it for granted. We only use it in the dark times. You know you see plaques around that say, how come I looked at the footsteps of my life and you were always walking with me until the darkest ones, and then there's only one set of footprints, and he says, well, that's when I was carrying you. It's that. You take it for granted on days that things are good, and you lean on it when days are bad, and it's taught me to lean on it a little more every day.
Have you experienced a peace that passes all understanding?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I finally got to a point in the spring. I was diagnosed in October of 21, and I was going through all the chemo, and the first time I'd been through chemo and radiation surgery. And I just got to a point where I was comfortable with whatever happened. I had my brain wrapped around it, and I was in a good spot either way. So people without faith don't have that. It'd be hard. When you think it's just going to be flipping the light switch off, but it's carried me a long way.
What do you say to someone who might be watching this about your faith? Because sometimes it's hard for people to share their faith, that you rely, you're one of the most powerful people in country music, and just look around, and all the success and everything, and then, I'm hearing you say that you've had to relinquish and surrender. How do you explain that to someone?
Well, I've always prayed. I've always believed in a creator, I was rolling down the road one time with one of my musicians from the old bar band days, and we were dragging that old van and trailer all over southwest part of the United States. And me and him were the only two awake. I was driving, he was sitting up front, and all I cared about was I was hungry. I wanted to be a songwriter, and I was really fighting, to get to my position and wherever I was going to end up. Had no idea I'd end up here, but at the time I dreamed it. And we're going down the road, and he said, he started talking. He was agnostic, and I said, "So you don't believe in a creator at all? Like we're just like amoebas that swam up on the bank and grew up, and then when we die, they just stick us back in the ground." He goes, "I go, why do you not believe in God?" And he said, he's never presented himself to me. I've never seen him. I said, "Really?" And I'd remembered hearing him talk previous about he believed in UFOs. I go, "But you believe in UFOs?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "You ever seen one?" He goes, "No." I go, Touche, buddy.
Yeah, look around.
I can believe that there was a creator that created all of this. Energy from the ground. We have electricity in the ground. We have an ozone. We have an earth that's full of energy that, lightning strikes the ground somewhere in the world every second of our life. And it energizes this, and the ozone, I guess, holds it in. And we have air. You don't have air in space, but something's holding that air in. Is this all just a natural occurrence, or is this things talking to each other, keeping us? I mean, the thing spins for our gravity, holds us on this big blue and green marble. There's just too many things. And the power of prayer, when your prayers get answered and you see the power of prayer, you know there's a creator, and it lives in your heart. It's not something that somebody cult you into thinking, you know. Charlie Daniels said, God save us all from religion. So there is a lot of stuff going on in the world due to religion that creates a dark side, but there is one Almighty, you know, and if you can live through Him, you can feel the light.
Mm-hmm. It's about a relationship, isn't it?
It is. It's all relationship.
You said about having a prayer answered. Has there been a time that you've had a specific prayer answered that you could share?
Oh, absolutely. The biggest one. And I can't say it's the biggest life or death one, but when I was beating those bars up, I was literally making $250, $230 a week. We would get like 3,000 to play 5 nights somewhere. I'd drag that trailer to Las Cruces, New Mexico. You know, we'd have a flat, have spend $10 on an old tire and this. And then after 5 or 6 years of beating that road up, I was getting in my late 20s. And every night I always prayed. And I didn't ask for anything, I always counted my blessings. And I said, if there's one thing, just guide me where I'm supposed to go, because if this is what I'm supposed to be doing, please let me know. And even got to the point where I was like, if I get to 30 and I haven't done this, I'm going to switch occupations, you know, because I can't do this. I had 2 kids at the time. I've got 3 now, but at the time I had 2 children. It was like, I can't keep coming home and bringing $250 and taking 30 and sticking it in my pocket and eating off that all week, the rest of my life. But I was young enough that I could do it. Well, ironically, I'd gone to Nashville, been turned down. Yeah, you can sing. Yeah, you need to go back to the woodshed and work on your songs. So I had a little 6-song cassette, and it had 6 songs I'd written on it. And I got a deal through the manager of the club I worked when I worked Oklahoma City. Every 8 weeks I worked a club in Oklahoma City. And his nephew played for Straight. And he'd written some songs, David Anthony. And David Straight had played here, and David had come in the bar every time. And a couple times that Straight had played Oklahoma City, we'd been in, and the band would come out and hang out with Uncle Freddie. And he said, hey, I'll take him Jimmy Bowen and let Jimmy Bowen hear these songs and hear him sing. So they set up a meeting with Capitol Records. I went in. I didn't meet with Jimmy Bowen. I met with a flunky. And the guy fast forwarded through my songs and said, we've got male singers. We don't need a band. And we do need a songwriter, but your songs. And I was like, cool. I wasn't even upset. I was like, hey, I got my shot. Came to Nashville, kid from Oklahoma, got my shot. I went home. So now I'm 29. And the summer, I turned 30 on July 8th. My parents' wedding anniversary is June 21st.
Okay.
And while I was in town, I'd run into some friends, and they said, hey, they used to see me out on the road, and now they're working in Nashville. And they came out to dinner with us, and they got a hold of they wanted to have some music. So I gave them the cassette tape, and one of them gave it to Harold Shedd, who discovered Alabama, KT Oslin. He was vice president of Mercury Records. And he heard it, and he goes, who is this guy? And they said, that's Toby, he lives in Oklahoma. He wrote these songs, yeah. He goes, I'm gonna go see him. So on the morning of my mother, the 21st of June, So 20 days till my birthday or
You're
something.
29.
I'm 29. And here for 6 years, this has been my goal, and I'm going to live to it. I've had my shot in Nashville. If I don't have my direction by 30, I may not just drop the ball today and quit because I got to keep some money coming in, but I'm going to look for another occupation. Phone rings. Will you hold for Harold Shedd? I'm like, God, yes. He goes, hey, I'm coming in Friday to hear you play. Can you play these songs? And I said, yeah. Flies in. The owner let me sing 2 45-minute sets of original music I wrote. And
Do you remember those songs?
Oh yeah.
What were they?
Well, let me tell you the fun part of this story. I had 2 45 minutes worth of songs I'd written, okay? He heard them. They were these 6 songs on this cassette too. So he signed me the next morning. He said, I'm going to sign you a record deal and I'm going to produce you. I'm literally days from my 30th birthday. On that cassette that Capitol turned down, Should Have Been a Cowboy, He Ain't Worth Missing, Wish I Didn't Know Now What I Didn't Know Then, Does That Blue Moon Ever Shine on You, all 3 number ones, top 5. It also had a song called Close But No Guitar, and it had a song that Harold loved, ironically, which is why he wanted to come hear me, called Valentine, and he absolutely loved Valentine. It was never a single, but that's the one that made him come see me.
Was that the moment you thought, my life's changed, I've made it? Was that the moment that you thought, oh my gosh, this is, my life has changed?
Well, I knew the door had finally been opened, because in the music world, if you're a baseball player and you're playing at Podunk High School and you're hitting 50 home runs and you're batting 450, college will come find you. And if you're at a little college and you develop, the pros will come find you. In the music world, if you go to Nashville, there's a guy like me and everybody else on every corner of the town. Mm-hmm. So in the internet world, you have a better chance of getting heard. Best thing about music business was the internet, social media, streaming, but it's the worst thing too because it's so muddy with the other stuff too. Yeah. So you've got good and bad getting flooded. Yeah. We didn't have that. So somebody had to open a door for you. You had to, and if I lived in Nashville, I could network and meet and maybe get in a door. But living here, and I wasn't going to live, I never lived in Nashville. I always stayed in Oklahoma. I didn't move out there. So I thought, if I'm going to do it, I need to do it here because this is where my roots are. Well, as it goes on, I knew I had the deal, but it ain't up to us. It's not up to us whether we're going to be successful. It's up to the listener. You know, what can I put out there that they're going to make them want to pull over and stop and buy this? And my first big glow of wow was they put me, my first tour out was me and Shania Twain and a guy named John Brannon, and they were arguing amongst the label heads of who they wanted to put out as their new artist. And Harold had promised me a year and a half. He said, I'm going to have you out. I'm going to give you a year to work on your album. It's going to take 6 months from the day you sign me to get your contract signed. I'm going to work on your album a year. I'm going to put you out in January of '93. I said, okay. Well, by that time, the president had been fired. They brought another guy in from New York. Harold had signed Shania, and this guy liked Shania. He didn't like me. And he liked this other edgy cat named John Brannon. So they're arguing over who we're going to put out, and Harold's the vice president. He goes, I promised this kid a year and a half ago. So they agreed to combine both budgets, put us all 3 out, and say, we're going to call it the Triple Play and send you guys to major radio, major cities. You're going to have 1 band. You're each going to do 30 minutes. And everybody agreed to do that. So we went in. We put the 3 30-minute shows together. We all got along. And at the end, the president comes in. He goes, you're opening. You're opening. Shania's in the middle. My guy John's closing. So I was mad. I was like, so I went to Harold. I go, I want to knock him out. And he goes, don't worry, pal. Just do your thing. It's going to take care of itself. We did. We left town. We left Nashville, headed to Louisville. And the bus had 2 lounges on it. So it was me, Shania, John, a road manager, his wife, 6, 8 bunks, and a lounge in the back front. And we're rolling. We get to Bowling Green, Kentucky. Shania's in the back, listen to the radio. Me and John are up here getting to know each other. she comes screaming up the aisle, "Oh my God, you're on the radio." And we all ran to the back, and should have been a Cowboys, just blaring on Louisville or Bowling Green radio. The first day that we rolled out, and I was like, first time I heard myself on the radio, I was like, yeah, y'all get you some of that. Your opener's getting some airplay. So we made it about 6 shows, and that song was so popular and blowing up the charts. And finally John came to me and he goes, I want to open, you need to close. And I said, and I was so mad at Luke, I said, no. I said, I'm not going to do you like that, John. He goes, well, everybody stands in front of the stage till you, Shania, get off. And he goes, then no one's out there for me. He said, if I open, they'll at least be standing in front of the stage. And so Luke called me, he said, he had to eat crow, he had egg on his face. He goes, I need you to switch to the front. I said, no, deal's a deal. I'm not doing John like that. So a couple days later, Harold flies into North Carolina, we're in Charlotte, and he goes, I need you to do me a favor, pal. I said, yeah, well, anything, Harold. He goes, I need you to close this show. I said, oh, sure, for you, I'll do anything. But that's how hard I was to work with, I had so much pride, and I was like, you guys are going to treat me like this, and then I'm going to outrun you, and you're going to turn around and...
You've been running ever since, haven't you?
That's right.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Okay, so that was what you said, like January of 93 or so? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you did the Channel 9 song in November of 93. Uh-huh. So you were on your way.
I had a couple of hits.
Yeah. So can you tell me about the Channel 9 thing? How did all that come about?
Well, we'd seen Reba do it forever, And so it's like hearing the B.C. Clark jingle every Christmas. It was like when Channel 9 came on, And my family was raised up watching Gary England. So we have so many storms here. It's like Gary England's the man.
Yeah.
So still today, I don't know who the best guy is, and I know David Payne's great, and everybody's getting better at it, but we still do it because, it's like we've been taught when the Woolly Booger gets here, it's time to go on the radio. You better get on Channel 9, because the technology and how innovative he was. But so we would hear that jingle, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, one day they called me, and they said, "Hey, we want you to sing the jingle." And I was like, and silly as it is and fun as it was like, I was just glad to get on TV. I was like, sure, I'll sing it. But that was 30 years ago. It was 30 years ago.
Do you remember how much you got paid to sing that jingle?
Probably nothing. I don't remember. It didn't matter. I was going to do it anyway.
Oh my goodness, how far you've come. You have a big show coming up in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. And with COVID, it was kind of, no one could work. And then you got sick. Mm-hmm. And that was a little bit of a derail for sure. And, you're still fighting through things, but you're like, I'm getting out there and performing. I watched that Instagram thing and I was like, you go, Toby. I mean, people love that about you because you're like, I'm going down swinging, Yeah. Tell me about how all that came about.
Well, I started, when I started feeling better, it's like, cancer's a roller coaster. So it's like, you just sit here and wait on it to go away. It may not ever go away. Mm-hmm. And if it goes in remission, it's still going to be in the back of your mind. You're still going to have to do scans and stuff. But it was like, I'd jump up like in Cabo with Sammy Hagar. I'd get on stage with him. And I was like, I can sing. It didn't take that away from me. And then I've got the Hollywood Corners out here, my Roadhouse. Mm-hmm. So in the summer, I said, tell the bands that are there this weekend that they're paid, but they're not working. And they go, why? And I go, because I wanted to work out. I wanted to get up there, not take breaks every 45 minutes. We probably do 2-hour shows on the road. I wanted to do a 3-hour show each night, just see. And I said, I'll bring my band in and we'll just go out there. And I know it's going to leak out and it's going to get fun and big, but let it be a surprise. Let it blow up, right? And they said, well, what's the entertainment going to be besides the bands that were scheduled to play? And I said, a group called the Greasy Weenies.
Oh my God.
And so my manager goes, the Greasy Weenies. I said, yeah, I'm bringing them in. I don't want them to have the stage for Friday, Saturday night. Well, that in and of itself alone was enough to intrigue everybody to go,
who the heck?
Who the heck are the Greasy Weenies? So the night of the show.
This is hilarious.
So the night of the show, it's only 3 miles down the road from farm ranch here. So I start down Franklin Road, and I get about a half a mile from Hollywood Corners, and they're in the ditches down both sides. I get to the corner, I look, and far in each direction, as you can see, people are in the ditches. My whole 6 acres out back is full. My lot's full. It is slammed. We pull in. I pull back behind the stage. We walk up on stage and we fire up. We played 3 hours. We did it the next night. They were sitting on the roof. You know what I mean? It was crazy. And we just said, hey, get on the bike. Let's see what we got. And I cruised through both shows. And so I went to my manager.
Okay.
I said, how quick can we gear up and go? And he said, well, your trucks and buses and all that got a production. You got to build production for the stage. You got to have semis and buses, and you got to get a crew. Crews are all out with other acts. So we can't do this in August. And so my promoter of years and years, Brian O'Connell, said, I got a perfect spot. Let's put a couple shows on sale in Vegas. If they sell out, there's one more date we can put on that the room's not taken. I think Cher might do a residency there, and the kid, there's another kid works in there. And they said, we'll put these on the show. Well, they sold out in like 3 minutes.
Yeah, like 2 minutes.
2 minutes, yeah.
And then you did the third show.
And so they put the third on, and bang, it went. And they go, what are you going to do? I go, put some more on. They go, the room ain't available.
Oh.
So I go, well, we can't work through Christmas, so let's just pick a spot January, February, because I want to get through the New Year's with holidays. I want to go to the OU Bowl game and get New Year's and Christmas all out of the way. And I said, fire up and go. And here we are.
And you're feeling good?
Yeah, you can't let this define your future. I've sat here, probably hadn't done a handful of shows in the last 3.5 years. And I worked every single year of my life. I never took off. The way I amassed all that stuff up the top, songwriter stuff, a bunch of that in the middle, song of the year, songwriter of the year, all that, is because I put an album out every year. My peers and the colleagues I grew up with, my buddies that broke out with me, our class, Tim or Kenny, they might put one out sometimes every 2 or 3 years. Or Shania, they may put one out every 5 years. I was always, for some reason, stuck at a label where their bottom line for the year counted on me to deliver. And being a songwriter, that's hard to do because you have to force out artistic creativeness. And so it was like...
How do you do that? How do you write? I mean, it's like you get an idea. I was going to ask you about that song, Don't Let the Old Man In, because can you share that story with me? I mean, how does your mind work? You hear something and then you're like, I can make this a song.
I taught a class one day at OU, the music class.
Really?
And I didn't know. They invited me in. They said, we want you to do an hour. So I thought, what am I going to do? I thought, all right, I'm going to teach them the Nashville number system, which is for people who don't read music, can transpose a song. They play music, but they don't read music. So I taught the class. The other 30 minutes I spent on songwriting. And I took the simplest structure of how to practice songwriting. See, I live in Oklahoma. If you live in Nashville, there's a million songwriters. You'll become friends with them. You'll go over their house. You'll sit around. You'll co-write. You'll network. You'll learn. You'll glean off this guy and that girl. You'll learn. Where am I going to do that here? Where is that much talent here? There's not. You know what I mean? And anybody who is talented here usually moves there.
To Nashville.
So I had to learn on my own. And the way I taught myself was I view it as a wagon wheel. And the hub is your idea. So where I kept getting writer's block was sitting down here, and I'm going to write a song right now. So me and Robin are doing an interview is the first line.
I love it.
Me and Robin are doing an interview. Well, when I get down the road, what's going to be the rainbow pot at the end of the gold at the end of the rainbow? What's going to be the money shot? What's going to be the payoff? You see what I mean? And I got to find that when I get there. If I start there, I can back up here and write to it. It's laying there waiting.
So what's the pot of our interview? What would our pot of the interview?
Well, we'd have to. That's why I hit writer's block after the first line, because I don't know where this is going. But if you give me "Don't Let the Old Man In," that's the pot.
Yeah.
And when I hear that, I'm like, I'm only, as many songs I've written, I'm only a great idea away from a great song. And I know I will grind on it. And once I get it hooked and it's circling the boat, I will not stop grinding on it. I'll think about it in my sleep until I get it in the net, land it in the boat. And when you get a deal like "Don't Let the Old Man In," I knew when Clint Eastwood said that, I went, oh my God. So we're on the golf course, real quick. We're on the golf course. We played 3 days of golf. I'm his partner. And he goes, somebody said, "Clint, how old are you?" He said, 88. He said, "Celebrate Monday, I'm 88. And I said, "What are you going to do to celebrate your birthday?" He said, "I'm going to go to Georgia and shoot a movie called The Mule." And I go, wow, 88. And he's going to go spend months in Georgia shooting a movie. And I go, "What keeps you going?" He goes, "I get up every day, don't lay around. I get outside. I go outside and I don't let that old man in." I was like, wow, okay. So I thought, you know what? I love that old man. I'm going to go home, write him a song, send it to him. So I wrote this song. I grinded on it. Me and my wife were going to town for dinner one night, and she's over here just yakking away. And I'm driving, and I'm going, and I'm over here grinding on this song in my head, driving. She goes, "Are you listening to me?" And I go, "I'm writing a song." And she went, "Oh," it's like she's been there before.
She knows.
"I know what you're doing."
She's been down that road before.
I'm working on that old man song. And she's like, "Never mind, I'll tell you later." It's like you can't stop him when he's in that mode.
What's your favorite line from that song?
"My body's weathered and worn. Ask yourself, how old would you be if you didn't know the day you were born?" That bridge was the last thing I put in there. And I had all the verses, which are very powerful, but I didn't have that little bridge. And I grinded on it for 2 days. Most of it I'd written in a couple of days, but I grinded on that bridge, and it's magnificent, in my opinion. But anyway, I sent it to him. I said, "You inspired me to write this." And he plays piano and has written some scores to his movies. And I said, "But I hope you can appreciate this, but you inspired me to write this." He called me the next morning. He goes, "They call me the old man in this movie. I'm putting it in the movie." I was like, well, damn.
I just watched that movie a couple of weeks ago, and it does encapsulate that whole thing of what he went through. And I mean, when you performed it at the People's Choice Awards and your wife was watching you, and I mean, just watching it as a friend and a fan, I mean, there wasn't a dry eye.
No, it was powerful,
It
wasn't it?
was powerful.
You know who's the brainchild behind that? Dick Clark's son, Rack. I've known him for years. He produced all those award shows that we were on. But I get there and they said, "We're giving you this icon." And he said, Blake was going to perform Who's Your Daddy? Well, I'm not going to let Blake go up there and be up-tempo and have fun, and then me, if we're doing number ones, let me come beer from horses or something. And Rack goes, "No, I want you to do Don't Let the Old Man In." And I go, "As great a song as it is, it was in the Mule and it never even got any traction. Why would you want to do it?" He goes, "I think it'll be powerful." So we argued around a little bit, and I said, "Rack, whatever you want, I'll do." So I didn't think twice about it. Went out in rehearsals. We were going through rehearsals, and I sang it, and there was probably 100 people in the audience, people working the show and waiting to move the next act on. And I looked out and everybody's bawling. Rack comes up crying and he goes, "You got me, you SOB, you got me, blah, blah, blah." He's all bubbling, and I said, "Well, Rack's your idea, you want me to sing it." So during the show, right before I went on stage, everybody's going, "This is going to be a big moment." And so I went out, sat in my chair, and when I went up there and Blake gave me my icon, I handed it off, took the guitar, and now the reason it got its play, it's such a great song, and its words live by that. The moment was so powerful. They hadn't seen me in a long time. So I threw my skinny jeans joke on them. Bet y'all never thought you'd see me in skinny jeans. Like, this is okay, y'all don't worry about it. But then it was just crickets. And every person in the room was just zoomed in. And and then you just deliver that message, and it got its due, and then it went #1 the next day. It was like trending like out of the, so now they've released it to radio. I was like, Toby's got a new song out. No, it ain't. It's 4 years old. Yeah. You just didn't hear it the first time because they didn't play it.
And your life was in a different time then, and so
the moment was perfect.
Yeah.
But it found its home.
Yeah.
Great songs. So in that 4 years, Willie Nelson recorded it. Engelbert Humperdinck recorded it. All the old cats recorded it. Foreign guys who are superstars in their own country recorded it in their language. It's been recorded. And I'm like, I wrote it, and they're having hits on it in their countries, and it's not even a hit here. But it is now.
I think that moment, though, of your wife, she was wiping a tear away.
Yeah.
What does she mean to you, Toby?
Oh, she's been a trooper. She's the best nurse. She absolutely, the first time we went to Houston to the hospital, she stepped right in. There is so much crap you got to fill out when you go through this. Every single, you got 20 people on your team, and every one of them has to have a full report of all your, and I'm like, I'm sitting
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. And she just, give me that. She just sat there, filled it all out, handed it to them, and she just took control and said, we got this, let's go. So she's like, we're going to get this, and don't worry about it.
You know, a lot of people don't know much about Tricia. I mean, she doesn't ever want the spotlight.
No.
What would you say, why do you love her so much? What are her...
It's hard to stay with somebody this long.
Yeah, how long have y'all been married?
Be 40 years next year.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. But, I mean, when you're a young couple and one of you has to be gone all the time, it's like the military's the same way, you know? That's why when I did those 240 USO shows in 11 years overseas, you know, I would see guys and girls that hadn't been home, and they've been on their 3rd deployment. They might have been home 6 weeks over the last 3 years. They're just gone all the time.
Tough.
It just takes, you got to find that you just have to find that perfect person. And it worked out for me, but it don't work out for most, I don't think. That's a really difficult position to be in, but it's nice to find somebody. She's a great mother. I have great kids, and that's all due to her. I was just the provider, you know. I just kept believing in myself, and I remember one time her father, she said, you know, when I was working like 3 nights in Tulsa, I'd be 5 nights in Amarillo, 6 nights in Las Cruces. The next week I would have 3 nights in Tulsa. And next weekend I had 3 nights, and I'd have 4 days off. She said, go make some money with Dad. So I'd go work with her dad. He had a plumbing truck. And he goes, you know what, you're a pretty hard worker, kid. He said, if you ever quit this music thing, he goes, come over and work for me, I'll put a second truck out. And I came home, and he'd called my wife, said, I like to, if he ever quits this music thing, it's a real job. He said, I'd like for him to become, you know, apprentice, and then put a second truck out and build my company. And I said, I'm not cut out to be a plumber. I'll work, make my money now. This part of my plan, but I said, I gotta live my dream first.
You had to make that music thing work, right?
Yeah. But I'd have been a hell of a plumber.
You ever write a song about that?
No.
I have a song idea.
Yeah.
Okay, it's called The F Word, Forgiveness.
Oh, love it.
And that it leads to a 4-letter word, free. And so I don't know, like my mind always is twirling goofy things, but I'm always like, there's got to be something about, like.
Forgiveness is a good one.
It is a good one, yeah.
You can get ideas from different places, but the wagon wheel thing that I taught songwriters, that I teach songwriters, there's a million ways to write a song. And I've written a few from letter A to Z, and got lucky, but it's more frustrating. And that's where you quit practicing, is when you get frustrated. And if you'll start with your pot of gold and build to it, and practice that way every day, if you don't have a better idea that day, just take the idea you have and run to it where it's waiting on you, you'll end up practicing more. And, you know, I wrote, I don't know, when I was 14, 15, I wrote a handful of songs. And then 17, 18, I wrote 3 handfuls of songs. And as I went on, all of a sudden I wrote a decent one. And somebody goes, that's a good song. And they say, hey, I want to hear that. So we'd be in a beer joint over here. You know where my water tower is?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Right underneath that water tower. It's white and got my painting on it now. I think it's finally quit working. I think I'm going to tear it down and move my name somewhere else. But it was rusty and old. Right underneath it was a dive bar called the Feed Store. And we'd play in there right out of the garage band days. And one of the guys smoked cigarettes. We'd go out on break. And we were standing right there looking at water tower. Never in my wildest dreams could I imagine they're going to sandblast that thing and paint it someday and put my name on it. Had no idea. And I'm sitting there in that little dump bar. And it's literally on the other side of the gravel parking lot right there. But I finally wrote a song they wanted me to play in that bar. And then I wrote a bunch of other crappy songs. And then I wrote another good one. And as time went on, that distance started to do this. The distance between
You figured it out.
good and bad started getting closer. And then I got hungry. And then people started saying, you're a good writer, you know? And so I was like, I can be a songwriter. I never even knew I would be an artist. But I thought, I'm going to be a songwriter. I just happened to have a flamboyant, outgoing, loud personality that could deliver these songs. And then that became another part of my life where my first 3 or 4 albums, I was doing what they told me to do. And it was working, and I was having some number ones and hits, but I was still kind of a B artist. And one day I just went in and they kind of critiqued my album a little bit, and it pissed me off. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start dressing out of my closet. I'm gonna start singing my songs, and I'm gonna captain my ship. And I have no problem in sinking this ship and me driving it, but I got a hell of a problem with you being the captain and it sinking.
Of my ship.
Right? And then my career went into the stratosphere.
You've applied that to many areas then of your life, even with your cancer journey that you shared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that having faith, captain your own ship, believe in yourself, because you can sleep at night
Yeah.
if you do it your way and you fail. But if you fail doing it somebody else's way, I can't sleep at night.
Yeah.
And
You missed it.
I did. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm not your poster child, Nashville. I don't live there, you know?
Why'd you always stay in Oklahoma? I mean, so many people, they might have a house here, but then they really have moved to Nashville. But you never did do that.
I was raised right here in this 6 mile area. My mom lives, the farm I was raised on where my mom and dad, my mom's still alive, is 3 miles north of Hollywood Corners. I'm 3 miles east of Hollywood Corners. And I grew up fishing the river that runs through my ranch here. I fished crappie. I'd come out here and park at that bridge when this was just woods. And I'd fish that creek. This is where I was raised. This is where I come home to. So I can go to the house of Colorado, I can go to Cabo in the winter, I can go to my lake house at Grand Lake. I can go anywhere in the world I want to go, but after 6 or 7 days, I'm like, I gotta get back to my ranch. You know what I mean? I need to get back to my home. And it's all fun to go when you go, but I just never felt good. And I never felt good about moving to another city and living there. It was like, this is where I was raised. So I didn't care. And it cost me, not necessarily all the award shows and stuff, if that matters, but I mean, there's 13 CMA awards. And if you're a male, you can get up for 9 of them. And I have been up for 9 of them. I've been #1 ticket seller. I've been in a 4-year period between 02 and 3 to 06, 07, right in there. There's 208 weeks of Billboard charts, and I was 52 weeks sitting at #1 in that 4-year period. Songs I wrote, not #2, sitting at #1, you know, multiple #1. And I'm up for everything, and I would go over at the awards because there's only a certain amount of signed up voters in Nashville that vote on these awards, and they've all got their agenda people they vote for. Well, me not living there, I've just got my manager and my booking agent, my lawyer and my team, but I don't have the network that everybody else has. And here I mean, Alan Jackson goes up there and receives Male Vocalist of the Year, and I'm sitting on the front row. He goes, I almost didn't come tonight, and I won this award. He goes, Toby's sitting on the front row. He knew, you know, he's like, but I didn't care. I was like, I'll sacrifice that to get to live here.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
I don't care about that trophy. I care about those songwriter awards.
Yeah.
But that voted on by the industry stuff, they knew who Big Dog Daddy was that year.
I love it.
They knew what kind of year I had.
I wanted to talk with you a little bit about the Corral Center that you do, just how that means so much to families, and you know, it's a tough time, and especially when it's children involved and going through similar path of the journey that you've been on, you know. Just what does that mean to your heart, and how do you keep that, you know, sustained every year after year?
You know what's amazing is the first thing I thought of when I got cancer was who's going to take care of the corral?
Really?
Who's going to fund the corral? Who's going to raise the money? Who will carry that torch? It was one of the first thoughts I had. So my guitar player, Scott Webb, had a 2-year-old daughter, Allison, and she had Wilms, I believe it's called Wilms cancer, and it's supposed to be pretty curable, but they didn't get it for some reason. And all of my donations at that point, my charity stuff, had gone to St. Jude's. So when they sent her into hospice, I said, let me call St. Jude's. So I called in a favor. I've been giving them money for years. I knew the connections. I said, I have a little girl. She's been put in hospice. Is there anything? They said, send us her charts. They called back and said, there's a couple of things that they don't have there that we got here that we can try. I told her mother didn't wait 5 minutes. She threw Allison in a car seat and drove to Memphis on a drop of a hat.
Oh, well, yeah.
She was gone.
Go.
Well, they didn't have any luck, and so at the funeral, we went to a church to eat afterward, and she said, "Thank you for what you did." She goes, "But the most amazing part of St. Jude's that we didn't have here is I show up with nothing." She said, I don't have a toiletry bag. I don't have any clothes. I don't have much money. I didn't grab anything. I just grabbed Allison and thought every second counts. And I hooked it to Memphis. Well, if I'd have knew she was going to leave right then, I'd have stuck her on my plane and sent her. But as soon as I called her, she was gone before I even could call her husband. She took off. And she said, the amazing thing, I got there and they put me in this house and I didn't want for anything. She said I had Walmart cards, gift cards, soup and sandwiches, cereal, 24/7, 3 hot meals served, shuttle service to and from our appointments. They would come get us and take us to our appointments. She said, this is the most amazing. I said, there's our calling. We need to do one here. And she said, oh, that'd be great. And so it took me, I started out here at Belmar Country Club. I had my first fundraiser 20 years ago. It took me 10 years to get the money built up. It took me 7 or 8 years to acquire the property across the street from the Oklahoma Children's Hospital. Luckily, we were right across the street. It took me 10 years to get to that point. Then we built a beautiful facility. I got all of the oncologists and the doctors to get together, I put together a great board of doctors and attorneys and bankers and got this whole network and this machine running. And then we got the doctors. I'll bill whatever you need, but I need to know the number. What is the optimum number for, say, if I build a 30-room lodge and waste all the money on 30 room, and only 15 of them are used year round, then I don't want a 30 room. If I build 12 and we have to turn somebody away. So what's the perfect number? And they said 16 rooms with 4, I think it's neutropedic. It's where you live behind the plastic in the bubble. You have immune. I think it's neutropedic's the word. But so they said you're going to need 3 or 4 of those rooms. So we've got one wing where you literally push the doors with the plastic back, and you have to really put on the stuff to go in there, you know. And then the other rooms, and then I said, I want it fun. So we brought some ex-Disney cartoonists and stuff in, and we put the theme around Route 66. They built the Little Red Barn at Arcadia. They built the Blue Whale. And indoor playground is that. And then outdoor, it goes out on the prairie. The little things they ride on are buffaloes and a covered wagon. And so we made it Oklahoma fun. And then and painted all these great pictures on the wall. It has a chapel, has a big dining room. It's Ritz-Carlton meets Disney World, and it's free. Yeah. But it costs money. I got to raise that every year, and each year we raise more money. We raised almost $2 million in one night last year. Wow! Right here in Oklahoma, I got 90,000 people living in Norman when school's in, and I go to Riverwind Casino, and I get on that stage. I bring an act in. Sing a couple of songs with them, turn them loose. I do my auction. People donate wonderful stuff. And the beauty of it is Juliette Bright is the mother of the place. I couldn't even keep it open without her. She's so good. But she has people come in and cook for the kids. And so it's turned into like an office building in Dallas will pick a day out of their year, and they'll do an office retreat, and they'll stop, get groceries, food, come in, they'll be on a list, and they'll come in on their day, and the men will change out light bulbs and work on stuff, you know, wrenches and stuff. The women and cooks, whoever the cooks are, will cook 3 hots for them, and then clean everything up then, and they drive back to Dallas. And I stayed about 160 days out on the waiting list to perform those.
People to come.
Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing.
And it's my best gift I've ever given to the world.
Wow, that's amazing, Toby. Do you think you know the struggle it's been to go through cancer? I mean, when you see these kids, I mean, they're tough as nails, aren't they?
I can't stand it. It just, I go up there and visit it, and I just can't stand it. It's the beauty in it is that some of them are so young they just don't know. Yeah. So there's a blessing there. But the therapy that we bring is that everybody staying there has an affliction. So if you go to school and chemo's taking all your hair and you're in first grade, kids are going to be mean. They don't know any better. Yeah. And that kid's got to put up with that. But in here, we all look the same. So there's family therapy. There's therapy in that. The kids have a good environment to live in. And this is kind of funny. I was up there visiting one time, and this kid got to ring the bell. Oh. And it was exciting. And they were like, we've been here for 3 years, and we finally got to ring the bell today. And I was going, congratulations, we're celebrating. And the mom goes, this is bittersweet. And I go, why? She goes, we don't get to stay here no more. Aww. We're going to go back to our trailer in Visay. And I'm like, you got your kid back. Yeah. You understand?
You win.
You win.
Yeah.
But it's a great facility, and it's in a lot of ways.
You bless so many people.
Yeah. We do 300 families a year.
Wow, it's unbelievable. How are you in your cancer journey? Do you mind my asking, like, where are you today and everything?
Yeah. So it's always a roller coaster. I've had it to 0, and 5 weeks later, you're storming back. But if you're going to live with treatments and things, whatever you find that works for you, that holds it at bay, and all that, you just do. And as long as I don't shrivel up to a prune and hit the dirt, I'm gonna, and I have energy. Yeah. I'm going to try to go. And you don't ever cure it. Everybody has it, and you don't ever cure it. It just goes into remission. So you got to find, again, captain your ship, find your own deal. But I'm not gonna let this define what my future is.
Anything else you want to add, Toby, that might be important just for people who are going to watch this?
Well, I would say, again, I can't, for people that are watching, cancer's an island that sits out in the middle of the lake with other islands. And we know that's Cancer Island. So you take your boat, you don't even really want to look over there. You just want to act like it don't exist. And when you wake up one day and you're shipwrecked on that, there's a lot of boats on that island. And you find out how many people really have cancer. And you just need to, I would tell anybody to, especially if you're given a second chance to fight it. Some people don't even get that opportunity. You just walk in, they go, oh, good news, bad news, you know. Good news is you won the lottery, bad news is you're not going to be able to spend it, you know, that kind of thing. And doctors are like mechanics, you know. Go in, I got a leaky muffler. My muffler's making a sound. Yeah, your transmission's out too. So if they scan on you long enough and they look at you long enough, they're going to find stuff. And you're going to get second opinions and third opinions, and they're not all going to sound the same. And it makes it really difficult to the average person, especially somebody who don't have my resources. You know, I don't even know, I mean, I've got the best resources in the world. Most people don't have those connections and resources. But all I can tell them is you really have to get in control of your ship. You have to be as well read as you can be and do what's best for you. And it ain't always chemo. It ain't always radiation. It ain't always surgery. And that's the protocol. But that's what they tell you to do. And that don't mean that these doctors and these physicians and these scientists are trying to kill people. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is everybody's taught in medical school, residency, and they're placed in residency, and then they practice. They've got their own book of how they were taught, just like any other class in school. And there's good ones and bad ones, and they're all working. And it's a tough road to weed through. But if you have faith, lean on your faith, make the best decisions you can for you, and never give up. Just keep on cranking at it.
You've had some really good friends. Bob Stoops is, you know, it seems like Bob and Barry and Becky and have kind of been on this journey with you. What does that close-knit of friends mean to you?
Oh, the love that poured out from the whole world when I announced it was overwhelming. At first, I was like, I didn't know anybody really cared that much, you know. I see somebody post something, I don't just drop on my knees and start praying for every single story I hear. But boy, it sure felt like that when I did it, you know. They directed it right at me. So I've always dealt with it. I always take for granted how big my fan base is. I've always called them warriors, and I kind of take them for granted, but they always show up. So when I first got in the business 30 years ago, you know, I took on haters like a wounded grizzly bear. I'd go get you. You know what I mean? I'd say, come on, bring it. Let's go. I got a platform. You know, what have you ever done to change the world? And as you get older, you're like, You remember when Bosworth sold the shirts at the Denver game? And all the Denver people were wearing the stamp out Boz shirts, and then found out he was selling them outside. It's stuff like that that makes you go, you need haters. They make you a lot of money, and they embolden
your message
and empower your fan base. You know, the people who love you are empowered by haters, and when you embrace that, it's like watching wrestling on TV. You got a heel and you got a good guy, and the only way to make the ratings go up is to make the good guy jump over here with the heels and create something like, you gotta be kidding me, Hulk Hogan's over here with these guys. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like that's the way they make their money. It's like, and when you learn that and you've been around long enough, then you just smile at haters. You're like going, oh, I'm getting so paid right now.
I love it. Hey, hang on a second. Would you hand me that right there?
Daryl.
Yeah.
Daryl.
So we thought about this.
Okay.
And we got a gift for you. And we think you're going to like it. We put a lot of thought to it. So you just can take the lid off of it. It'll be easy to unwrap. So you can take the bow off and then you can just take the, yeah.
Christmas came early.
I know. And you can just take the box top off.
It just pops up?
Yep, it pops off.
It's nothing. Oh, it's the script from the, it's got Fred Cortez's name up there. That's awesome. Agreement between Griffin Television, Channel 9, and your client, Toby Keith. Does it say the pay in here?
Yes.
Oh, $6,000.
Times 2. You made $12,000
$12,000
singing the News 9
Oh,
song.
you've never been another poor day.
Look at the date. It's almost 30 years to the day of our interview here today.
Isn't that crazy?
Same
November
month.
3rd.
Is that crazy?
That's crazy.
Yeah, you made, they paid you $6,000 and then they gave you another $6,000 for it.
For re-airs,
Yeah.
re-airing, renew this agreement. Look, it says for additional $3,000, they scratched it out and put 6 down.
And you all had to sign it, right?
Yeah.
And he would have done it for free, he already said.
Yeah, you said you would do it
Yeah.
for free. Do you remember that song? The words are on there too.
It's that spirit, the Oklahoma spirit. There's the check.
There it is.
There's the check 30 years ago. Me and Channel 9 been banging it forever.
Way back, right?
Yeah.
Before,
Yeah,
I
this
mean-
was, you know what? I'm not sure whether they thought he's the next big star from Oklahoma, or they just thought we can get him for $6,000.
now my boss said they'll redo the contract if you'd like to redo another contract, but it probably costs more than $12,000.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've got so many hanger-oners now; they'd all have to get their cut. DBB Productions. Oh, that's really nice of you, Robin. Tell everybody thank you. Differential. It's got all this stuff, and this is great. This ought to be framed, and I'm gonna frame this up.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Does it bring back memories though? I mean, like you walked in, you had a long mullet.
Oh yeah.
And you know, larger than life, and you know.
And still not comfortable in front of the camera. I was like, you know, but yeah, it was that's a big deal for a local boy too.
You bet.
You know, and 20 years later, I'm sitting on 60 Minutes across from Dan Rather getting grilled about courtesy, red, white, blue, and I'm like, I'm ready for you. I did the Channel 9 jingle, buddy. Bring it on.
I love it. I love it. Toby, we just are so grateful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're an inspiration, and I mean, it's so impressive everything that you've done, but just the man that you are and the man that you've become through a trial. I mean, you know, I've always heard that your test becomes your testimony.
Mm-hmm.
And this is part of your testimony,
Yeah.
what you're doing.
Yeah, well, he has a plan for everybody, and if this is my plan, so be it. And if it isn't, but whatever, you know, if I could be a great spokesperson for him, I think. But you go through whatever you're supposed to go through, and through that relationship, you have to find the silver lining and count the blessings that are there. You know,
Yeah.
I know so many people who didn't get the opportunity to even fight it. And I'm sitting here today feeling good and knowing what I'm dealing with, and I got my brain wrapped around it, and my faith lets my light shine, you know. The light at the end of the tunnel is the Almighty. It's not a train coming, so it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's you either get on the train or get in front of it, but get out of my way.
Do you have a scripture that you've clung to? Is there one scripture that you've, you know, I always think of that, you know, God has not given me a spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind. And I'm like, sometimes I just got to call on a sound mind.
I spend so much time when I'm talking about my faith to somebody in my world that might have difficulty understanding it, or, you know, oh, you're talking the invisible man in the sky. John 3:16 is so simple. You know, you don't go to church, you cuss, you do this, you drink wine, you know, it's like, it doesn't say doesn't say if you do all of these things and you pay this much money and you go to this church this many times and you know that you go to heaven. It says, believe it. Whosoever believeth would not perish but have everlasting. That's all it says. That's what it says. It doesn't say whoever believeth and does this laundry list over here. It says believe. That's the word that you got to get through to everybody. And what's so hard about believing? What's hard is not believing. What's the result in that? What if I'm wrong and I believe and it really doesn't exist? Well, I still ride the other train, right? And then once you believe and you start having a relationship and you start getting fulfilled, all of a sudden it turns around and you start to go, oh, I see. So, newest treatment I'm on, I go to Florida to get a new treatment. I come home the next morning and you get numbness in your feet from chemo. So I'd been off chemo 2 or 3 weeks. My feet had been numb for months. And I was really worried about my feet. And I go get this new treatment. And I get up the next morning not thinking nothing about it. I fly back in here, get in bed. And my feet hit that cold floor. And I could feel my feet. And I could feel my sensors fired. And I could feel the balls of my feet balancing me. And I went, wow. And I have a book that has my daily scripture in it. So I look down. This is the day. It's dated. This is what I'm supposed to read today. It's my morning scripture. And it says, now that you've chosen the path, the road less taken, trust in me in your direction, and my light will shine on you. That was my scripture for that day.
Wow.
Now, if I'd have went Tuesday and Wednesday, that scripture would have been that day. I wouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
But the day I was chosen, and I looked at the other scriptures around it the other days, none of them applied to this
that
day.
one.
But this day it said, and I went to Florida to get a new treatment, come home, overnight,
Wow.
I can feel my feet, and it made me go, wow, this is the best my feet have felt in over a year.
Wow.
Something happened in that treatment that
Amen.
cleaned me. And I go, I wonder what my scripture's going to say. And when I open my little book, I'm thinking, wonder what this is going to say in here. And that's what it said.
That's amazing.
And I'm like, I may be talking to the invisible man in the sky, but he's talking back.
God orders your steps, doesn't he?
Yeah.
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 Thank you so much for sharing all this. We're really grateful.
Well, thanks for doing it.
Yeah, you bet.